Okay, let's get into it. Oh, I forgot the last and most important thing. There I am. Weirdly, I can be here. There we go. Oh boy. So, yeah, I meant to stream Monday, but I got delayed because my mom mentioned wanting to see Belfast, which is only in very limited release near me, and then never mentioned it on Monday. She said, "Oh, you busy Monday? We should see this thing. I want to see it." And then completely forgot about it. And so I was just waiting the whole day for her to say, "We going to see this movie?" And then just must have slipped her mind. But it's not going anywhere. So we'll see that at some point. But then on Tuesday, I meant to stream, and I didn't wake up until 1:30. And by that point, I was just feeling like crap, and wasn't in any mood to stream. And besides the fact that I took so long to get ready for work that I didn't have time to stream, and then I was just blech, and it was blech the whole day. But today I got a bunch of stuff done beforehand, and I'm able to get the stream up and running. So let's dig into what I saw last week. Let's head on over to the theater room. I should move myself up a little bit. There we go. Alrighty. So for this week, not a whole lot. Most of this stuff came out on streaming, with a couple like simul releases. Like I know the first two came out on both streaming and in theater. So now the big releases are going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, because we got Ghostbusters coming up and Encanto and all kinds of stuff. Big things are starting to come out. But let's talk about the first thing I saw. Clifford, the big red doggo. And I never had much of a relationship with the character. I've seen the 2000s PBS show with John Ritter and Kel Mitchell and Cree Summer and all them. And I did see some new episodes, some episodes of the new show that's on PBS now. And it's fine. I don't remember the books. I don't know if my mom read them to me or not as a kid, but I never really remembered them. The only thing I remember about Clifford is that he was big and he was red. And that was it. So when they announced a movie, I wasn't sure what the heck was, like, what do you need a movie for? The last time Clifford had a movie, it didn't work too well either, and they had a whole show leading up to it. But yeah, this one, it got pushed back a bunch. It was made back in 2019, and then between the pandemic and some bad focus testing, it got pushed back a bit further and further until finally it got released in... Chat's not showing up. I don't know. I need to do I need to do a complete overhaul of my setup now. I'm hoping to drop just like everything Streamlabs related and just get a whole new thing going. But yeah, this got some major delays, and then the trailers themselves did not look... They looked like something from 20 years ago. They not even not 20, but more like 15 years ago. This looked like a relic from the era of Alvin and the Chipmunks, Underdog, The Smurfs. You know, that whole era of live action adaptations where just nobody really cared. They had executives with no idea how to handle the property, doing just who the hell knows with it. And that's what this felt like watching the trailer. And when you get to the movie, It's that. It's just that. It's a bland version of that. Because at least, like, the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies got progressively worse. And the like, those movies became, like bad movie fodder. Things you can throw tomatoes at. This doesn't even warrant anything. Like, you don't even need to throw, like, gravel at this movie or something like that. There's nothing, an acorn, like, there's nothing to really... This doesn't even bother being bad enough to be worth mocking. So the premise here is you've got Emily Elizabeth, who is kind of a dorky, very introverted kid at school, at a new school, and she's on scholarship, so she's bullied by a preppy rich girl. And she is being babysat by her uncle, who is a struggling illustrator. None of this is really explained beyond the fact that we know he's a struggling illustrator because he lives out of his van. And we know that Emily Elizabeth is a scholarship because that's what the bully mentions. And then the bully isn't really a character. There aren't really characters in this movie. It's just like, I'll give it this. It feels like a kid just picking up a doll and saying, "This is Emily Elizabeth." It feels like a kid came up with these characters because they aren't, interesting at all. They're just, types. And so you've got the slacker uncle and the introverted nerdy girl and the preppy rich bully and the evil corporate executive. And we'll get into him. But yeah, the CGI Clifford looks fine. Like, it doesn't really work in the movie because it's not really well integrated, but it looks better than it would have even like 5 years ago. I'll give it that much. It doesn't look horrendous. It looks fine. But the big thing is that you've got a whole bunch of iconic comedy figures in this movie. You got David Alan Grier as their superintendent for the apartments. You've got John Cleese as the magical old man who has this tent full of animals, and he gives Clifford to Emily Elizabeth. And John Cleese complaining about woke culture and not being able to make jokes. Meanwhile, he's in Clifford the Big Red Dog, not making any jokes either. So. You've also got Horatio Sands in this as this vegan bodega runner. You've got Russell Peters, who I did not recognize. He's gotten older and put on some weight. I'm not saying that like he looks bad, but it's just like I'm so used to younger, svelter Russell Peters that I did not realize that he had gotten old, that he'd gotten bigger as he gotten older, but he's still got that same sort of energy about him. It makes sense. But he's in this as like a would-be magician neighbor of Emily's. And then you've got Tony Hale, Buster from Arrested Development, as the evil corporate villain. And I think that's the thing, is like there's no real plot, so to speak. It's just Emily gets Clifford gets big, hijinks ensue, and then the closest we get to a plot is Tony Hale's character wants Clifford so they can study how he got big to solve world hunger. Now, granted, we could actually solve world hunger if we just properly distributed all the food we produce, but God forbid we actually acknowledge that part of the problem is capitalism. But at the same rate, what he's doing isn't evil. He's running a genetics thing, and it's like the only thing that makes it evil is that he talks like he's evil. I want to solve world hunger. Why is that evil? Why are you making solving world hunger sound evil? And that's the thing. It's like they never say that in order to solve world hunger, they're going to kill Clifford and dissect him. They don't mention anything like that. It's just like, they need Clifford for some reason. And it makes no damn sense. It absolutely makes no damn sense. None of this movie makes any sense. And then on top of that, when it even though not only does the plot not make sense, such as it is, but you also you got wooden performances all around. You've got comedic actors throughout the cast, and yet they're all wooden and flat and boring. In fact, even the girl who plays Emily Elizabeth isn't all that endearing. She's just kind of exists. And then once again, you've got I've been noticing this a lot more in watching movies as I've gotten older, as I've started knowing the ins and outs of filmmaking. There's something I've been noticing a lot more in films, and that is ADR, additional dialogue recording. Basically, if you remember an old Patton Oswalt bit, he mentions that while working in Hollywood, he was a punch-up writer. And what that means is the film was basically done. Patton was hired to write funny things to say over the film when that don't have to be matched to lips in order to be said. They're said by characters off screen. And so, I fell backwards into some butterscotch. And so it's just like throwing in extra jokes over the footage to try and make it funnier. And here, you've got that, but it's so not... It doesn't add anything. The ADR actually detracts from the movie. And I've been seeing... Most of the time I see it, that ADR punch-up always detracts from the scene. You could have just left it in silence and it would have been better. And the only other thing I have to complain about is that they once again I feel like there's all these different live action, all these cartoon characters always have to come to some major city. It's either like London for Peter Rabbit because it's in the UK, or it's I guess just the Human World in general. He didn't go to London until the second movie. If that was even London, I don't even know if that was London or not. I paid so little attention to that movie. But most of the time it's either New York or LA. For Alvin and the Chipmunks, it was LA. For the Smurfs, it was New York. There's a whole bunch of stuff where the cartoons always come to New York. And it's just like, I'm kind of done with like putting these things in New York. Like, nothing against New York. It's not even anything against the city of New York. New York is a perfectly fine city. I get it. New York is cool. Why do all these stupid kids movies always have to be in New York? Why do the cartoon characters always Tom and Jerry had to come to New York? And I'm just sick of the cartoons always coming to New York. I come to the big city, and I just want stop putting cartoons in the human world. It's bad. It's bad. It doesn't work. Just stop it. But yeah, so you sit through this movie. I'm sure this movie is perfectly fine for really little kids, for the kind of kids who would read the book. You would read the book too. They wouldn't even read the book. They might read the book. They might be at an age where they might be at that point where they could read the book, but you're more likely to read the book to them. This is fine for them, I guess. I mean, you could probably find even better than this, but this just gets by with existing, and I guess that's fine enough. I know Emily Elizabeth tries to pull the big final speech where it's all about how Clifford's not bad. He's not dangerous, despite the fact that he constantly puts people in danger and destroys property. That he's not dangerous. He's just different. Don't. You're not gonna try and make this a story about how we're all special little snowflakes and we're all unique in our own special ways. This ain't about that. That dog has caused irreparable damage, thousands of dollars in damages to all sorts of people throughout all sorts of places throughout New York City. He put a living person in danger because he was in a giant rolling up ball. Well, actually, he did that twice. But yeah, it tries to pull the big, we're all special. He's not sort of speech, and it's just doesn't work because none of that mattered. That wasn't part of the plot. That wasn't a theme throughout the movie. Because that's the thing, is like, Emily Elizabeth is just an average girl. She's just a regular-ass child. It's not even like she's specially unique in any sort of way. She just exists and is a child and has no spectacular qualities about her. She doesn't, it's not like she has some amazing specialty that nobody else can see or anything like that. She just is a regular-ass child. So yeah, this isn't bad. It's just, it doesn't warrant its own existence. And quite frankly, I don't know why you would bother taking your kid to see this when you could just sign up for a trial of Paramount Plus, watch it, have them get bored, part 10 minutes. Like, that's the thing. An hour into this movie, it's 90 minutes long, an hour in, and the kids that were actually there in the theater were already bored with it. They're already getting up out of their seats and doing things that were more interesting to them. Yeah, Clifford the Big Red, waste of time. It's just, So yeah. Next up, got another big release this week. Released both on Netflix and in theaters for a limited time. Red Notice. And the thing about this is one of those. Do you remember does anyone remember? If anybody remembers the movie Night and Day, it was Tom Cruise and I want to say Cameron Diaz. It's Tom Cruise and another big name actress, A-lister at the time. And there wasn't really a plot. It was just the stars. Hollywood's been doing that since its inception. There's always been movies where there's no real plot. You just put two A-listers together and hope that their chemistry carries the movie. And that's what we've got here. We've got a story about art thieves and international spying and whatnot. And the whole thing is trying to be carried by Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. The problem is Dwayne Johnson is just being Dwayne Johnson. He's the Dwayne Johnson that you see in everything. Ryan Reynolds is being the Ryan Reynolds he's been in since Deadpool. And Gal Gadot has no personality and is just a cardboard cutout of herself. Like, there's no real... Like, that's the thing. It's like when she's not playing Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot has no personality, and at least on screen. And apparently, if last year taught us anything, in real life, Gal Gadot has probably a very annoying personality because she thinks, you know what, things are bad. I know what'll help if me and a bunch of other rich people sing John Lennon. That will help. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure somebody who thinks that was a brilliant idea has quite the cloying personality. But on screen, she has no discernible personality besides being attractive. That's kind of it. She's attractive and she is able to do some basic stunt work, I think. Unless she has a stunt double, but... Yeah, the plot, so much as it is they're going after Cleopatra eggs, and that's it. It's just an Indiana Jones story, but with Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson throughout most of it, trying to go after Gal Gadot. And like Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds are not bad like leads. They're not bad movie stars by any means. I mean, Ryan Reynolds pretty much carried Free Guy, but my dog is going nuts upstairs. I don't know what the deal is. But I don't even know if that's picking up on Mike. But at any rate, yeah, Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds are fine. But when you putting them together doesn't mean anything. What you've got is Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds, and there's no mixture of the two. It's not like you put my chocolate in your peanut butter. It's more like you put your oil in my water, and now they're completely separated from each other. They're their own separate entities. Like, you put Ryan Reynolds and Sam Jackson together, boom. Whoa. Was that my doorbell? Okay, you know what? Hold on. I gotta see what's up here. Whoop. Hello. What's going on here? Now, I'm not sure why it's in the Pokemon font for some reason. What do we put this in? You know what we should put this in? We should put this in... Oh, it's not here anymore. Oh, wait, no, it begins with SF. Here we go. And just regular ass white. And switch that to someone's knocking at the door. Somebody's ringing the bell. Open the door and let them in. So yeah, somebody's knocking at the door. Somebody's ringing the bell. Nope, that's not what I want. I want to shrinky dink this so that it actually fits on the screen. Okay, be right back, folks. Well, whoever it was left as soon as I got up there, and left a thing on the door and a plastic bag. Within a plastic bag, there was a bunch of makeup products. So I'm wondering if we had an Avon lady come over. and I just missed them. Who knows? At any rate, yeah, Red Note. Yeah, so what you have with Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds isn't you got my chocolate in your peanut butter. It's you got my oil in your water, and they're completely separate entities. Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, bang, work great together, have killer chemistry. Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart bounce off each other really well, consistently have good chemistry together. Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson are just being themselves and have no chemistry together. And then Gal Gadot adds nothing to the mix, so you've got a third entity that has no chemistry with the other two. So you've got three inert entities with no chemistry interacting between them. And so when the lead, the big pole in the movie, the A-list power has no chemistry, you're left with a by the number, bare bones script about stealing. The action's fine enough, but it's like the comedy isn't all that great. I think there may be one or two jokes that worked well enough, but overall, like even when there was a big twist in the final, in the climax, it didn't mean anything. There was no weight behind it. It just happened, and then that's it. It's so. And then they had the gall to try and pull a, hey, we might be doing, we could do another one if you want. And I just don't care. This is such a nothing of a movie. It's a nothing burger of a movie. It's once again, perfectly adequate content that can be utilized to take up airspace, essentially. Or in this case, have something for people to watch on streaming. There's no, I don't see the appeal of this. Even if you like Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds, and I don't mind Dwayne, and I like Dwayne Johnson, and I love Ryan Reynolds, this does nothing with them. It just says, okay, do your things, and then moves on. It's a blah experience. Fortunately, the next one, and the third big release of the week, isn't a blah experience. In fact, it's actually one of the worst movies of the year. Home Sweet Home Alone. Now, you may be wondering what the hell this is. If you haven't heard of this, then you aren't online enough, and I pray you keep it that way. But what this is a sequel / reboot of the first Home Alone movie. Now, granted, every sequel to Home Alone movie has basically been just a carbon copy of the first Home Alone. Even the first sequel was just a slight variation on that first movie. But this is honestly the worst. And the direct-to-video sequels were all pretty garbage. Especially towards the end, I think there was one where they basically just remade the first Home Alone, but badly, and with, French Stewart and the Daniel Stern role or something like that. It was, I forgot how bad it got, but suffice to say, it was garbage after that first movie, arguably after the second movie, but definitely after that first movie. And the first movie is just, is only okay. It's fine enough by, 90s comedy standards. And it's more of a nostalgia piece than anything else. But this completely misses the mark. So the premise here is you've got a randomly British mother and son in Who the Hell Knows Where America. She's married to Andy Daly, who I swear doesn't even show up on screen once. And the family is going to Tokyo, I think, for Christmas or something. They're going to Tokyo instead of Paris. No, Paris was the second one. Where were they going in the first movie? They were going somewhere. But, or was it Paris? I think it was Paris in the first movie. Was it Paris in both movies? I haven't seen the Home Alone movies in a while, so... Yeah, anyway, this time they're going to Tokyo. The kid is being a dick. His family is a bunch of obnoxious assholes. And they leave without him, so he's home alone. Now, instead of just standard, the burglars are there to take valuables from the rich people, which was usually the premise of every Home Alone movie. It's just, the kid is home alone protecting his house from burglars. They're just burglars. They're there to steal valuables. That's it. Here, no. We gotta add some complexity to it, some depth. So this time, they're a couple that's financially struggling and about to lose their home. They're about to sell their home and move somewhere else because they need the money. And they think, not even that the kid has, they think the kid has this really valuable item, this doll that because of a manufacturing error is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so they think the kid has it, and that's why they try to sneak into the home. Meanwhile, if it wasn't through stupidity and comical misunderstanding, just like laughably bad misunderstandings, leaps of logic so wide that you couldn't make it across. You know, this is the logic leap equivalent to trying to jump the Grand Canyon. And then it tries to do the Home Alone. It tries to hit all the beats of the first Home Alone, including the obnoxious lead kid realizing the error of his ways, but he doesn't. He doesn't really learn to miss his family. He's just an obnoxious brat from minute one. He's a little shit. And that's nothing against the kid actor here. He was just given the direction to be an annoying little shit. This is the kid who was the Glass's best friend in Jojo Rabbit. And here he's just an annoying little shit. He's an obnoxious little shit in a family of obnoxious shits. Like, his family includes Chris Parnell and Pete Holmes and Andy Daly, and all of them are obnoxious shits. Meanwhile, unlike Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci, the burglars here, Rob Delaney and Ellie Kemper, aren't funny. They're annoying. Oh no, we're about to sell our house, but we shouldn't tell our kids we're going to sell the house. Yeah, God forbid the kids know, hey, look, we're having some financial trouble. Don't worry about it, but we will have to sell the house, just letting you know. Like, that's the thing. If the kids know that there are financial troubles, and that, like, why would, and, like, they try to comically hide the fact that they're selling the house? Like, oh my God, like, just tell your freaking kids that you have to sell the house. Oh no, they won't like it. Their lives will be changed. You could probably not even leave the school district, depending on stuff. And if so, I'm sure you could find there are ways of them going to the same school outside of their district, as long as you're not, like, moving out of the city. But no, like, everybody in here is an idiot, and they're awful, and they're not fun. Nobody is funny. So it's recycled beats from the first movie done terribly. It wastes and that's the thing. Both in front of and behind the camera, you have comedic talent out the wazoo. You've got the aforementioned Rob Delaney, Ellie Kemper, Pete Holmes, Chris Parnell, Andy Daly. You've got all them in front of the camera. Plus, Kenan Thompson shows up as the realtor, and I'm sure I'm missing a name somewhere. There's probably another big name comedian showing up. But then behind the camera, the director is the guy who worked with Sacha Baron Cohen on the Ali G show and helped write Borat and Bruno, but I mean, he's worked with Sacha Baron Cohen on multiple projects going back to the Ali G show. He directed Dirty Grandpa, which at least has some level of quality in there. Not great. It's not great, but as a stupid, like, late night drunk watch, it's funny. But and then you've got two SNL writer alums, one of whom is Streeter Seidel, who many a millennial will remember from the early days of College Humor. So you've got three SNL alums, including Kenan Thompson, and the guy who helped work on the Ali G show with Sacha Baron Cohen, four, because you've got Chris Parnell in there. So you've got all of this comedic talent there, and yet you still managed to fuck it up. How I need to know how this happened. Like, I know, there's always the question, how did this get made? And there's the whole podcast with it. And I really wish that, why can't I remember their names? I know Jason Mantzoukas is one, and, they're great, nice couple. Now I can't remember. Paul Scheer is one, and I forget his wife. June Diane Raphael. There it is. It was there somewhere. But yeah, I don't know if they can get one of the comedians in this movie to come on and talk about how bad this was to make. But this genuinely is one of the worst movies. This very well will top a lot of people's worst of 2021 lists. Like, it's not going to top mine because it wasn't that bad, but if you my worst of the year is very personal. Like, that's the thing. A lot of people's worst of last year, of 2020, was the Nicole Simpson Brown one, whereas mine was one featuring a kid with autism. Featuring a guy who's on the spectrum. Usually I'm in line with, people's worst of the years in terms of quality. But if there's something that really mishandles the autism spectrum in film, that hits me personally, because I have to live with that and the consequences of that misrepresentation. But yeah, for 90 minutes, this whole experience was just lousy. It drags. It manages to drag during that 90 minutes. It is such a slog to sit through. And then by the time you get to the actual Home Alone part, the traps that he makes, they're not funny. Like, for the most, the first movie, those would actually do a lot of damage. Like the ones where he steps on a nail. Like, that's freaking, like, tetanus bait right there. And even the paint cans would do some damage, but for the most part, aside from the worst of them, like the freaking blowtorch at the door, most of it was like ice and slipping and falling, and there was the spider, and it was a hot door. Like, if it's hot enough to leave a literal brand on your palm, that's bad. Not to mention the fact that they've proven that in order to get the knob that hot, it would actually set fire to the door. like a broken shards of ornaments, Hot Wheels on the floor. Fairly benign stuff. This kid shoots billiard balls and sends forth icicles. Sharp icicles that have been known to kill people when they hit them. Ellie Kemper and Rob Delaney here should be going home in body bags. These aren't funny traps. These are sadistic and monstrous. And the kid here isn't having a wacky time fighting bad guys. He's being a sadistic little monster. He's a bastard child. And then in the end, they try to do the whole it was a comical misunderstanding. It was, you poor sweet child, you're here all alone, and then we're supposed to feel all happy and good inside. No. You didn't earn that. That was a terrible... You don't get to have that happy ending when you spent the last 80 minutes being complete bastards. Nah. You don't deserve that ending. Fuck you. Ugh. Just the worst. So yeah, expect that in a lot of people's worst of the year list. Mine included. Last one, however, is not going on any list. Not the blandest, not the best, but not the worst. Released at the same time as Home Sweet Home Alone, I finally got the chance to see Jungle Cruise, which came out in July, initially. And Jungle Cruise is perfectly serviceable. I will say it is better than a lot of the other... I would put it right behind Curse of the Black Pearl. I think Curse of the Black Pearl, in terms of these park attraction adaptations, is still the best. They haven't topped that. But this is better than a lot of those sequels. It's better than Tomorrowland. It's better than the Haunted Mansion. So at least it's got that going for it. Premise here is in the 1910s. Emily Blunt is playing a female adventurer who's trying to break into the scientific community and get recognized, but they won't recognize her because she's female. They won't even let her present. But she discovers a possible cure-all in the deep within the Amazon rainforest, and she decides to head out there and find it. And in the process, she recruits Dwayne Johnson, who plays a down-on-his-luck riverboat captain. And when we first are introduced to him, he's basically being the captain from the actual Disneyland ride. Here it is, the backside of water. And he has fake hippos, and he pays actors to portray indigenous people. I will say this: at least they've got a lot of Mexican and that sort of Hispanic nationality playing the indigenous people in this movie. And then when we actually meet them, they're just like people. They're just like, look, this dude pays us what for his stupid little things, whatever. And then eventually they do help out, and when it's the actual MacGuffin chase. And then when Emily Blunt comes in, he has to give a real riverboat ride to find this tree whose petals can cure any wound, break any curse, etc. This one also suffers from bad ADR throughout the movie, but yeah, I think the problems with this one kind of are that it's really playing off Curse of the Black Pearl. You've got these ancient warriors, be it pirates or conquistadors, who have this supernatural curse that turns them into, basically monsters slash, these magical warriors. And it's up to finding the magical MacGuffin to break the curse. And yeah, and then it's very, very much like a trace over of the plot to The Curse of the Black Pearl. And I think the problem is that Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt are no Orlando Bloom Dwayne Johnson would I guess, be more of the Jack Sparrow, which I guess he's fine as, but him and Emily Blunt are supposedly have this romantic chemistry are supposed to have this romantic relationship by the end, but you don't feel it. They never really have any romantic chemistry at all. They imply her brother is homosexual, but that doesn't go anywhere. It's just implied. The climax is overall fine. And in fact, I actually really enjoyed Jesse Plemons as this German prince. He's like this gleefully, evil character. It's like, Guten Tag, mein Fräulein. He's like deliciously evil, and he has so much fun doing it. He's great. I love Jesse Plemons. But yeah, it really is just overall like a lesser version of Curse of the Black Pearl. And I feel like that kind of holds it back in bits. And then on top of that, you've got the issues of no real romantic chemistry, humor feeling pretty dated. They actually really waste Paul Giamatti. Like, he says with Paul Giamatti, and he's only in like 2 scenes. He basically bookends the film, and then he's never seen again. Jesse Plemons is good. The Conquistadors, the cursed ones, are kind of cool. They have these like different powers because the jungle has taken hold of them. So one's made of vines, one's made of snakes, one's basically like a giant walking beehive. And yeah, overall, I feel like the ending is bad. I feel like the way they ended it is lame and tries to tie into that romance way too much, because there just was no chemistry between them. There was no chemistry between them. I felt nothing for them as a couple. So to try and force that into them and make them part of the next one, because they are trying to do a Jungle Cruise too. Apparently it made enough. But nah, it's got nothing. It really just there's not enough heft or weight to it to really make it memorable the way that Curse of the Black Pearl was. It just is a lesser version. And I can't imagine that the sequel will be much better unless they put some real weight behind it. And I don't know if I see them doing that. But at the same point, it looks fine. The action is pretty solid. There are some neat ideas throughout there. It just doesn't really do much with it. But hey, I had fun watching Jesse Plemons be a deliciously evil German prince. So I had that going for it. I guess you could do worse. But you could definitely do a lot better. Just watch Curse of the Black Pearl and you're fine. I feel like even the actual park ride is better than this movie. So I haven't been to Disney World in forever, and I haven't been on the Jungle Cruise ride since I was a kid, probably. So I'd have to really actually go back down and see how they're doing Jungle Cruise now. But this was fine enough. And that's going to do it. Let's see. Coming this week, we've got we have what is it? We've got Ghostbusters. So Ghostbusters is coming this week, finally. We've also got King Richard on HBO Max. And I don't know if there's anything else. I'd have to really take a look and see what's coming through. Let me take a look at it is. I always like to go by the year in film when I look at movies. So let's take a look. American films. We want November the 19th. Oh, good. There's another Princess Switch. Fantastic. Extinct is coming to Netflix from David Silverman, featuring Adam Devine, co-written by Joe Cohen, and featuring Adam Devine and Rachel Bloom. Ooh, Rachel Bloom. Zazie Beetz, Ken Jeong. Huh. That Black Friday movie with Devon Sawa is and Michael Jai White and Bruce Campbell is supposed to come out this week too. No idea if it's going to be playing in theaters near me or not. So Extinct is a actually Russian. Looks like it was a Russian animated film. Cinesite Animation, based in Montreal, Quebec. Okay, so it's Quebecois, and it was just released in Russia first, and then in the UK, and now it's here in America on Netflix. Huayi Brothers, China Lion. So yeah, it seems to be much more of an international background in terms of the production. Furry-shaped donut animals who live on the island of Galapagos in 1835. Op and Ed. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about this. Alex Borstein, Richard Kind, Henry Winkler, Nick Frost, Reggie Watts, Catherine O'Hara. I mean, they got the cast for it. Just, I get the feeling this is probably going to end up being kind of like Dougal or Prince Charming was, where you can just feel the bad lip syncing as they try to do the funny American English dialogue over top of the animation, and it just does not match. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's what's coming up this week, and I say we find somebody to raid. So I'm gonna do that. A bunch of people I like are up and live now. So I think, what is Soya doing? Ooh, she's doing a Dark Souls. Uni's doing art. Who's on the lower end? Who could do with a raid? Let me see. The one problem with the stream manager is you can't really see who's live right now. IU's doing ASMR. I don't know if I want to raid for that. Bun's doing Uncharted 2. Petri's doing Subnautica. I'll go raid Soya. I haven't seen her in a while. I haven't seen her in a hot minute. Let's go raid her. So, thanks for tuning in. And hopefully tomorrow I can finally start Undertale. If not, then I'm going to try Friday for something else. For some what? Friday I'm going to try... Oh, I can just do Rogue Legacy. Keep it going with that. And then Saturday, I'm going to do something special. I'm going to introduce a new thing on Saturday. And hopefully. But stay tuned for all that. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.